So.
No. More about gel coat.
When the fourth...
Don't you call in the... More importantly...
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
Songs that made the hit parade.
Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days.
Well, here we are. Happy March 2022. Hi, Matthew.
Oh, David, we lived through 2/22/22.
So before we start, Matthew, I want to tell you something. Remember last month, we talked about the Golden Palace and the episode with Kim Fields on it and how we were like, this show wasn't bad. It just was the victim of its circumstances.
I'll take your word for it because I don't even remember what underwear I'm wearing today, let alone what we talked about a month ago, David. But sure.
But you recommended, you said it's a nice little watch. Just pop it on Hulu and let it autoplay while you're doing chores around the house. I did that. I'm almost through I think I'm like 20 episodes in. And I agree with you. It is a delightful watch. It's perfectly fine as far as TV show situation comedies from the early 90s go. It's great with these characters. It's just its greatest crime is it is not the Golden Girls. It is a different show, and there's just no way to watch it without that filter. But I want to tell you that I did take your advice, and I think it was very good advice. I've been enjoying it. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. So I really have been wanting to do this episode for some time. Let's just get into it, introduce it. All in the Family, Season 4, Episode 8, called Where's Archie? Originally aired November 2nd, 1974. Because I remember as a kid seeing it in reruns and going, oh, that lady, that's Mrs. Garrett. But that's clearly before she was Mrs. Garrett because she's got brown hair and stuff. And now the time came that I pitched this episode to you and realized it is a three-parter. Oy.
And it's all in the family, so it's good. But I mean, that third episode, I have to admit, I fast forwarded a lot because I was like, they told us what happened right at the beginning. There was no need to watch the rest of it. Like I thought they would at least like have Archie come in at the end and explain where he had been or something. But nope, she just spills the beans right at the beginning of the episode and goes, everything's good. Now we just sit here and wait for Archie to come home. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that part 1 is called Where's Archie? Part 2 is called Archie is Missing. And part 3, which one would expect would be called Archie's Back or Archie Comes Home. Nope, it's called The Longest Kiss. And you quickly realize as you're watching it, like you said, they tip their hand at the beginning. We already know he's okay, that Edith has heard from him and he's no longer missing and he's going to be home soon. And the rest of the episode is just them spinning their wheels, waiting for the moment that Archie comes in at the end.
Yeah. And I have to wonder, like, was it just the fact that they wrote that script the day before because they didn't know that if Archie was coming back? So they were like, we just have to fill 23 minutes of time because I was fast forwarding. I couldn't watch it.
What's weird to me is I don't fully understand in the world of the week in which a sitcom is produced. We talked about this when B. Arthur was starting to lighten up her load as Dorothy on The Golden Girls, how she would just leave in the morning and come back at night kind of a thing. I don't understand quite how that works, but I guess the assumption is they had this episode ready to go, or they did write it quickly, but it was that, okay, literally, Carol is going to show up the day that we are shooting this and walk in the last 30 seconds of the episode and deliver one line. So I wonder, I assume he wouldn't have been there during the rehearsals because he didn't need to be. He wanted in the fucking show.
Right.
But how funny that they didn't call it Archie's Back. That blows my mind. But yeah, so we're getting far ahead of ourselves. But what is new?
I hardly have any notes, David. So, I mean,
Okay. Well, I have copious notes,
oh,
and we're going to be here 3 hours.
I hope we decide to go line by line through the episode because I'm anxious to hear your Rob Reiner and your Sally Struthers.
Let's talk about the show. Let's talk about All in the Family. We are joining it well in progress, season 4. And the series was created by the wonderful Norman Lear. The executive producers that are frequently credited in most of the episodes are Don Nichol, Michael Ross, and Bernie West. And you do see at the end of some a Nichol Ross West production. And that also is something you see on episodes of Three's Company. Now, the three of them are producers. Don Nichols, an executive producer, meaning they're in the writer's room nursing the scripts. They wrote for All in the Family, The Jeffersons. They produced The Dumplings, Three's Company, and The Ropers. Have you ever heard of the show, The Dumplings?
Yes, but I don't know why.
Huh, interesting. It was on from 1975 to 76, only 11 episodes, and it was James Coco and Geraldine Brooks. And I think it was about an overweight couple. I think it was based on a book or even a graphic novel or something. So yeah, it didn't last, which is weird because all their other shows had some degree of success and being pretty high profile, but that's one that just got lost to television history. So let's continue with the nuts and bolts here. This show was written by Barry Harmon and Harvey Broston. And Harvey Broston only has 3 credits on his IMDb page. 3 episodes of All in the Family, 1 episode of The Jeffersons, and live in front of a studio audience, because it happened to be one of his scripts that they reenacted when they did The Jeffersons recently for the Jimmy Kimmel Norman Lear live series. So that's it. Now, he's been nominated for a Tony Award because he was a producer of the musical Romance, which was a 1978 musical starring then unknown Scott Bakula. And he also did win an Emmy for one of his All in the Family scripts. It was called Cousin Liz, and it's where Edith and Archie go to the funeral of Edith's cousin. Edith's cousin's roommate, I'm making air quotes, is there. And we learn through the course of the episode, it wasn't her roommate, it was her lesbian lover. And so it's Archie and Edith dealing with that situation. Won an Emmy, Mr. Broston, for writing that script. So bravo. And IMDb says that later in his career, he worked as a substitute teacher somewhere in Florida. And I did another Google search, and I found that as recently as 2016, he is a member of the school board of Broward County. And Broward County is not far from Orange County. I think that's where Cocoa Beach is. Is that where?
Is that Brevard County or Broward County? Broward County might be Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Now, the other writer of this episode, Barry Harmon, previous to this, he wrote 27 episodes of The Carol Burnett Show from 73 to 74. After this, he would go on to write for The Great Space Coaster, Salty's Lighthouse, Blue's Clues, Clifford the Big Red Dog, Cyber Chase, and Wonder Pets. Do you see a theme forming here, Matthew?
No.
It's all children's shows.
Oh, okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also a composer, and he composed songs for My Little Pony and Allegra's Window. I have heard of most of these. Some I have not, but I'm assuming if anyone younger than us is listening to this, that they're going to get some of these references. Yeah. And the episode was directed by H. Wesley Kenny, and I forgot to look him up. Matthew,
He directed a couple episodes of Filthy Rich. He directed an episode of Flow. He directed 24 episodes of All in the Family.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you for looking that up for me. So that's it, nuts and bolts, as far as the staff, the production team. But of course, the big question is, where's Archie? And Archie is missing. And The Longest Kiss. These are 3 episodes of All in the Family that do not have Archie Bunker in them. So the big question is, why? And it doesn't take much digging on the internet to find out that Carol O'Connor was in a quote unquote contract dispute. And it said something about being owed back money. I don't know what that was all about, but literally they were thinking of killing off Archie Bunker from All in the Family rather than give him what he wanted, or at least to use it as a leverage thing of, you don't think we'll fire you from the show? Guess what? We'll fire you from the fucking show, even though you are the show. But they did end up settling it somehow. But by all accounts, his relationship with Norman Lear was always very strained thereafter, which is also a curiosity, because it's like when All in the Family, quote unquote, ended, the show transitioned to Archie Bunker's place, where Carol O'Connor had more power, more producing credits, story editor credits, and more creative control. It's weird. You would think if it was a strained relationship, it would be like, nope, All in the Family's ending and bye-bye. We're not working together anymore. But I don't know. Again, it's TV and it's weird. Lastly, I will say that Bill Macy, when he was on Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, referred to Norman Lear as a son of a bitch. And one of the reasons for that was, he said Norman Lear let them have residuals from 1 round of reruns. 1. And then after that, he said, I keep the residuals. So the actors for all the Norman Lear shows, and we know, including Facts of Life, the actors do not see money as they are rerun and rerun in perpetuity. And that is a fucking crime. So these episodes were filmed at the beginning of the season, and then they were held back so that it didn't look weird. They were coming back from the summer hiatus with no Carol O'Connor. And you will even notice that at the end of episode 2, they actually give you a little preview of what's going to happen in episode 3. An announcer even says, next week, Archie returns and blah, blah, blah. It's like they make it sure it's like, this isn't permanent. Archie's coming back. And Isabel Sanford was quoted to say, they allude in some articles that she said she was happy he wasn't there because it gave her and the supporting cast more to do. I'm not sure she was happy he wasn't there, but you know, it's Isabel Sanford's right to say, hey, we were just sidebar characters and we got to have more lines and got more screen time. Fuck yes.
Or maybe she was like, he was a miserable asshole, so I was happy he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. Possibly.
I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Carol O'Connor, but you know, maybe Isabel Sanford wasn't a fan.
Yeah, possibly. And Sally Struthers, also on Gilbert Gottfried's podcast interview, she said she had a miserable time there because one of the producers or one of the directors just constantly picked on her. It's that thing where we've seen it happen, where in every cast, a director feels like they have to pick on one person to show their authority, to throw their weight around and their power. And she, unfortunately, was the punching bag. And she said she spent a good couple of years saying, get me the fuck off of this show. I don't want to be here anymore. They had a big blowout and had to do a sitting around in chairs and working it out and everything. But she said she was pretty miserable for a good chunk of time, which is just a shame because the show was so good. And honestly, she is so good in it, really and truly. So that's kind of some background about this season, the circumstances of these episodes. I thought it was interesting to look at the show in a broader scope in terms of how popular it was. People don't realize that this was in the time when there were only 3 networks. And when you are the number 1 show on television, everybody watched you. Like there was nobody that didn't watch this show if they watched TV at all. It was that popular. Season 1 premiered mid-season as a replacement. It only clocked in at number 34. And it was during reruns that people kind of started to find it. Somehow it did get renewed for that second season. Seasons 2 through 6, it was number 1. That is 5 seasons, 5 years. They jumped to number 1 and stayed there. That is astounding. Part of that is because they had the same time slot. They didn't move them around a lot. Then season 7 happened and they moved the time slot and it dropped to number 12. Then season 8, they put it back in its original place, which was Sunday nights. It went back up to number 4, but that was when Mike and Gloria left at the end of season 8. And as far as I'm concerned, the show should have ended. They should not have gone on past the departure of Mike and Gloria. That's what the entire premise of the show is. But they went on another year and it did drop a little bit, but it got through 9 seasons, 205 episodes, and then segued into Archie Bunker's Place for 4 additional seasons, 97 additional episodes. Insanity. And
when did they kill off Gene Stapleton?
Gene Stapleton did the first season of Archie Bunker's Place, I believe. So I think it was at the beginning of season 2 of Archie Bunker's Place when they started the episode with Edith Has Just Died. So, another funny thing is that Ken Reed has many times said on his show that part of the popularity of All in the Family was that liberals watched it because they loved to see Mike make a fool out of Archie, and conservatives loved it because they loved that Archie was on television saying all the things that they believed and agreed with, even though he was being made a fool out of every season. As Ken Reed puts it, they watched it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And yet there was the popularity. People just liked feeling as though they had a voice in this middle-aged bigot in the early 70s. And for those who've been living under a rock that don't know what All in the Family is, this is right in the middle of the big cultural shift at the late 60s into the early 70s with the hippie culture, with the big wave of super liberalism clashing with the ultra conservatism of the generation before. So you've got Archie Bunker, played by Carol O'Connor, who is basically an old school middle-aged white guy bigot. He hates people other than himself. He uses every single epithet in the book about every other culture, every other nationality. His wife, Jean Stapleton, playing the part of Edith Bunker, she is his dim-witted, long-suffering wife. His daughter is played by Sally Struthers. She is married to a super ultra-liberal, basically a hippie, kind of the original woke culture voice of Mike Stivic, played by Rob Reiner, who would go on to be a very famous film director. And so Mike and Archie would constantly come into battle. They would be butting heads over whatever the issue of the week was. And it was always Archie being a dumbass, closed-minded conservative, and Mike being a smart, open-minded liberal, and Archie being made a fool of. And that was it. And no TV show had ever head-on tackled the culture war that was going on at that time, with the Vietnam War going on and President Nixon getting impeached and then quitting and all that. It was really tumultuous times for the country. And this is really the first show that reflected it and put it all out there, warts and all. How old do you think Carol O'Connor is at this point?
I know.
Oh, did you look it up?
Mm-hmm.
You're always so obsessed with the characters and their ages, Matthew. That's such an obsession of yours. Talk to me. Talk about the ages of the cast.
Oh God, I didn't write them down, but I looked it up. Let's see. He was born in 24, so this was 34. I didn't know there'd be math. 44, 50. He's 50 years old, David.
Mm-hmm. And Jean Stapleton, how old is Jean Stapleton?
She is 51.
Yes. And to my great surprise, I thought they were a little bit younger than this. But both Rob Reiner and Sally Struthers are both 27. And this is the 4th season. So that means they were both 23 when it started. I guess that's pretty young. But yeah. Anyhow, it's just The acting is so superb. They are all so good. Have you ever watched the unaired pilots? Some of them are on YouTube.
Yeah, with the really annoying girl who's playing Gloria.
Yeah, different Mike and different Gloria. Same Archie and Edith. The show was originally supposed to be called And Justice for All. And instead of Bunker, the last name was Justice. So it was Archie Justice. Okay, a little on the nose there, Norm. Glad you changed that.
Well, it's from a British show.
Right. It was from Till Death Do Us Part.
Yeah.
And that is also viewable on YouTube. And at one time, the series was supposed to be called Those Were the Days, which is why we have the theme song, Those Were the Days. So, yeah. Let's see. Let's talk. We want to start talking about the shows. Good God. I know I'm in the weeds. I don't know how to not find myself there. Every time I say I'm going to walk around the weeds, I walk right into them. Want to talk about part one? Where's Archie?
I love the sound of an old TV series. Like you can hear the echo in the theater. It's like watching live theater being filmed.
Yes. And the performances are a little bit bigger, a little bit louder. You hear the echo, you hear the voice bounce back off the back wall kind of a thing. Yeah, no, I hear you totally. I love it too. And you could label this as being a little melodramatic. Like when we go to commercial and Gloria says, "Don't you understand, Michael? Daddy's missing." And then the pause while we hear the applause and then the fade out. It's little melodramatic, and yet they are all such good actors. They really sell it, and I don't mind. I fucking love it. This is such a good show.
Gene Stapleton is next level. Rob Reiner is a puke.
You don't like Rob Reiner?
I don't say I don't like Rob Reiner. I like everything about Rob Reiner, but just I remember he's like Chevy Chase to me. I don't see the attractiveness of him. So I don't see, like, he's just a puke. Like he's got that weak chin. He's got that hair. And I just, ugh.
Well, he doesn't have that hair. They're desperately trying to conceal the fact. And then within another season or two, he will actually start wearing a toupee. But okay, I agree with you that he even by 70s standards, he's not that hot. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm not sure. And again, I don't think they were going so much for fuckability factor. In fact, the guy who played in the unaired pilots that was a little bit more on the classically handsome side, but you don't appreciate how good he and Sally are until you see other people trying to speak the same lines and you're like, this just, it's really upsetting.
But I wonder if that's a matter of what you're used to. If those people had been cast as them for 9 years and that's all you knew, if you saw an episode with Rob Reiner and Sally Struthers, you'd be like, ugh, they're annoying.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. Who's to say? Who is to say? I don't know. So the opening theme, the very famous Boy, the Way Glenn Miller Played. That song was written by Strauss and Adams, the composing team who wrote Bye Bye Birdie, Golden Boy, and Applause. It's a contemporary song written for this show. It's not a song from the 40s or the 50s.
Well, no, because they talk about their LaSalle and everything.
I guess. When I was a kid, I was always like, well, they're clearly singing an old song. They're singing did Al Jolson sing this or something? And yeah.
No, it's like that wonderful song Deary with Ethel Merman and Ray Bolger where they're singing in the 40s about how great things were. The waltz of a Sousa band, my wasn't the music grand. Talking about the teens, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's two old people reminiscing. Of course, it was written in the 70s or
I guess.
69.
You're right. I don't know where my head is. Anyhow, so we start the episode with Edith setting up for her first Tupperware party. And while this is going on and Edith is distracted, Gloria is really obsessed with waiting for the phone to ring, saying she's been expecting a call. So what we learn quickly is that Gloria is worried because earlier that day, she got a phone call from one of Archie's colleagues over at the lodge. We know Archie's a member of a lodge. That was a very popular thing back in those days. I don't know if it was the Elks or the
American Legion Post.
Exactly. But anyhow, he called telling Gloria that the convention, which Archie was supposed to be attending that weekend, he never got on the bus. They all showed up to get on a bus to ride up to Buffalo to go to a hotel for this convention. And he's like, Archie never showed. And Gloria's like, that's weird. That's not like Daddy. So throughout the episode, she's waiting for the phone to ring, hoping that she'll get another phone call saying, oh, he turned up. And Michael is surprisingly unsympathetic and unempathetic. He's really not being very helpful to calming down her fears, other than, being like, come on, you're being ridiculous. He's going to show up. He must have taken a plane. He did something else.
That whole scene shows how, for as liberal, bleeding heart liberal as he was supposed to be, as woke as he was supposed to be, by those standards, watching it now as he's explaining to her, you're looking at this like a woman, not looking at this like a man. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, kick him in the nuts, Gloria, for God's sake.
Well, and he is called out at other times too for being a chauvinist. There are other episodes where they address that. And that's the brilliance of the show, that for his wokeness, Michael does have to confront the fact that he still has residual prejudices of his own that he's got to also address and confront. I am going to read a little bit out of the script. I'm sorry. I have to do it. The scene you just mentioned, I copied it and pasted it from the subtitles transcript site because I love the way this is written. She says, I'm afraid. What if he got mugged? Mugged. And he says, you're talking just like a woman. All emotion, no logic. And she says, what kind of male chauvinist remark is that? And he says, there's nothing chauvinistic about it. And he says, your father is not on a bus. And then she says, well, then what's the logical explanation? He says, he missed the bus. See, I'm the man. I go straight to the point. You as a woman go bananas. And she says, well, why don't you, a man, go to hell? And he responds with, see that? All emotion. And she says, yeah, but it's straight to the point. I'm like, ooh, zing. You go, Gloria. I love it. Something that annoyed me, Matthew, about this episode. Fuck that doorbell. The doorbell is just a long, sustained buzzer type of ring. And to me, it didn't sound any different than the phone.
Yeah, I noticed that. And I was like, that's a horrible trick to play on us while we're waiting for a phone call to have the exact same sound be the doorbell.
Well, that's it. And at one point, she and Michael are in it and the doorbell rings and it just sits there. She doesn't do anything. And I'm like, what? Wait, why isn't she like, oh, fuck, is it him? Why isn't she jumping and spazzing out? And then you realize, oh, that's the doorbell and not okay. Very weird. Now that could be accurate. I'm sure the writers have some familiarity with these duplexes in Queens in which the Bunker family is supposed to live. Maybe that is authentically what a doorbell sounds like in the boroughs, as they call them. But I still would have been okay if it had some sort of a different pitch or make it a fucking ding dong. It's a TV show. For all the liberties that you take, come on. Anyway. So Edith is really nervous about preparing for this Tupperware party. She's practicing her arm gestures in her speech to welcome everybody. And then to give you a sense of how old the writers are of these shows, Mike and Gloria are supposed to be going to a Marx Brothers convention, like a film festival, as it were. So at one point, Mike comes down dressed as Groucho Marx, singing hooray for Captain Spaulding. And Gloria comes down dressed as Harpo with the curly wig and the trench coat and the big horn honking away and all that stuff. And they do very funny impressions of it. The costumes are perfectly homemade. Mike literally has electrical tape as his mustache and eyebrows. And Mike is like, let's go to the festival. Let's go to the festival. And Gloria's like, I don't want to go until I've heard from Daddy that he's okay. And so that's their push and pull. But then right before they go to commercial, the phone rings again. He's still not there. He wasn't on that first bus. They thought maybe he missed it and just hopped on the next bus so he'd arrive a few hours later. No. So right before we go to commercial, it's Michael. Don't you understand? Daddy is missing. But the
Your
fun
Sally Struthers is dead on.
she is this. I was thinking, this is not a very funny performance for her at all. This whole show. This is a dramatic performance where she is having to play and keep interesting playing the same one note of I'm worried, I'm worried, I'm worried. And she fucking crushes it. She is so good. Hey, do you want to tell our Sally Struthers stories?
Okay. Well, when we saw her in Hello Dolly, like
Now, where is it that you went and saw her? And how did you get to actually make her acquaintance? Through whom?
through Dan LeBono.
Dan, our wonderful friend Dan LeBono. Yeah.
We went to see her in Daytona Beach, and there's an eating scene in Dolly that happens where it's like just Dolly devouring food for 5 minutes, and that's why it takes a good comedic actress to pull that off, because you've literally got like 5 minutes because it's a scene change. And Carol Channing did it masterfully, and Sally Struthers did it, and there was just no button on the end of it. Like Carol Channing's button was she was trying to chew and trying to talk, and then she would stop, and then she would talk, and then try to talk, and then still continue to chew. And in comic, The Rules of Three, she would finally make a big swallow and go, "Your Honor," at the end of it. And so it was like this great button on it. I told her, I said at dinner afterwards, I said, honey, I would be remiss if I didn't give you this note. And she's like, oh, please. And I said, why are people at the theater to see Hello Dolly? And she started in with this, oh, it's a great show, and blah blah blah, and start like doing the press pitch for why people should come and see Hello Dolly. And I said, no, honey, they're there to see Sally Struthers. And she was like, oh, you're sweet. And I said, no, they're there to see Gloria. These are old people that you are their Gloria. And I said, you have to end that eating scene with taking a drink and putting it down on the table and just going, boy, the way Glenn Miller played. And the place will go nuts. You have to give them that wink and let them know that you get it, that's why they're there and you're in on it. And she texted me the next night. She said it went in and it killed.
Yeah, there it is. But how nice is she that she didn't look at you and say, oh, really? You have a fucking note for me?
Yeah. Who the hell am I?
Yeah. I did meet her briefly. I was seeing our friend, the wonderful Zach Nadolski, when he was playing Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
And Sally Struthers was Belle.
But no, at the Maltz Jupiter Theater in Jupiter, Florida.
With Ruth Buzzy as Belle.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that. Yes. And our friend Wesley Slade was also in that production. So at that performance, Zach's husband was in the audience, Kurt von Schmidto. Zach and Kurt have been on the podcast. And Sally Struthers was there in the audience because she was working at the Wick Theater, also in South Florida, doing Miss Hannigan in Annie. And so Douglas Michael Lucas, is that his name? Michael Walters, Walters' husband. They were still in Florida at the time. And so Doug Lucas, who does wigs and costumes there, was sort of her escort. So my in to walk up and approach them was, I was like, wait a minute, she's with that guy and I know him. I know him because we're friends on social media, but I'd never met him. So to walk up to say, hi, Doug, I'm David Almeida. I used to work with your husband at Sleuths. We're friends on Facebook. Good to meet you. Oh, and well, who's that? hi. And she's like, hello, I'm Sally. And I'm like, I'm a very big fan of yours. It's really, really an honor to meet you. And that was it. I just kind of, hit and run, but got to shake her hand, and she was very, very sweet. And then Kurt later approached her and said to her, and this is the truth, it was Zach's birthday. And he said he would be so thrilled if I could record a video with you telling him happy birthday. So she did it. She did not hesitate. She was like, where do we stand? Do it. Who's got the camera? She was just asking her to do something nice for someone. There was no hesitation. So she was absolutely delightful and lovely in my interaction with her and watching her interact with friends of mine. So there. Brava, Sally Struthers.
Betty Garrett comes running in, David. I always confuse Betty Garrett for Celeste Holm.
You're right. They are very, very similar. And I love her. We also get Louise Jefferson. We get Isabel Sanford coming in, getting some more screen time. This is the season right before we will get the Jeffersons. But when we come back from commercial, of course, the big thing, what we're all leading up to, is the entrance of Lillian Henderson, played by 48-year-old Charlotte Rae.
48, David.
That she is 5 years younger than I am.
Oh, I did like the line where Sally Struthers says, I hope we don't get arrested walking down the street like this, dressed as the thing. You're gonna really? Was that a thing?
I know, really. What was it? Then he had to say,
like Harpo Marx, you're going to prison, motherfucker.
Yeah, but then Mike says to her, Gloria, this is New York. They won't even notice. Like, just to remind you, we're in New York City where it's crazy.
No, it was 75 in New York City. So yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. You're right. So in comes Mrs. Henderson. And oh my God, first of all, she's supposed to be from Schenectady. So she's doing or attempting to do that central upstate New York dialect, not too far off from what you would do as a Minnesota or a Wisconsin. So right in her wheelhouse, because Charlotte Rae is from Milwaukee, but loudly turning it on really high. Direct from Tupperware, always on time, even on days like today when I have to fly all the way in from Schenectady. By the way, I do want to point out, Schenectady is only a 3-hour car trip to Queens. So why she had to fly in from Schenectady is interesting. And I think Archie's bus trip to Buffalo was like 5 or 6 hours. It's like Archie's the one who should have been flying, and she should have been the one on a bus for how far they had to go. But anyway, she still has her brown hair. It's short. It's not in a bun. It's in a nice, smart little matronly flip. She has a gray hat with a bow on it and pearls around her neck, a conservative navy blue dress, pearl earrings, reading glasses on a chain around the neck. I love that as a touch. She never uses them, but that's a lovely costume thing. And she just kind of sweeps in because she's the company representative from Tupperware, who is there to facilitate this Tupperware party that Edith is throwing. So she is just sweeping in, and God, she is great in this.
Watching her kind of enlightens me to how she was on Facts of Life. Like we've talked about her choices being broad and big and everything, but she's just a product of her time, because this was like a filmed theater experience. Mm-hmm. And she's from the theater. So nobody told her, like watching Angela Lansbury in Murder, She Wrote, nobody told her there's a camera 2 feet in front of her. So nobody said, I need about 10% of what you're giving me. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it just kind of reiterated like, oh, well, that's why she was so broad, because this is where she got into TV. That's what happened.
That's her thing. That's what she did, and did very, very well. There's a great bit where her first thing, she walks in and she walks over and almost touches Archie's chair. And we all know that filthy, worn out ugly ass chair that was Archie's favorite chair. She walks in, she almost touches it, and then she just stops short, kind of a little bit taken aback as to how gross it is. And it gets a great reaction from the audience because we know how important that chair is. And a nice way to kind of give a little nod to the presence of Archie in the room, even though he's not there. But the conversation between her and Edith is about basically about her job, about getting to travel to exciting places: Newark, Hoboken, Hartford, Utica. This week I'm in Brooklyn. Next week I'm in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So this is a weird question. I was never aware that they actually sent a corporate representative from the Tupperware company to the individual Tupperware parties. I'm like, I'm watching it going, is that a thing? This is a question for Michael Wanzi, not for us. Wanzi would know, but.
Is she a corporate person or is she just another Tupperware lady?
She says direct from Tupperware is her first line.
Oh.
So from Tupperware. So I would have reason to assume that she's a corporate representative Tupperware party facilitator lady, which is why she travels so much. I don't know. It's not really explained, but whatever. I don't care. So as she's doing all this chitter chatter, we see that she is clearly a organized lady. She's moving the chairs and just moving them a few inches to rearrange them perfectly and kind of getting everything all set and put together. And then she walks over to the table. The dining room table has all of this Tupperware laid out on it. And she stops dead in her tracks and says, "Mrs. Bunker, you've broken up a family." And Edith's like, "What? I didn't mean to. What are you talking?" And she says, "Look at that serverlier. What's it doing with the Wonderliers?" And Edith says, I don't know. And this wonderful moment where she turns to her like she's just stabbed a baby and says, "It didn't get there by itself, did it?" Just like accusing her. It's so fucking funny. God. And then when Edith goes to fix it, she grabs one of the bowls to switch around. She says, no, not the Jiffy Sift. Matthew, you know what I'm about to tell you, right?
Is it a story about a Jiffy Sift?
It's the fact that I did Google what is a Servalier, what is a Wonderlier, and what is a Jiffy Sift.
Oh.
And here's the deal. Easy. Actually, it's very simple. The Servaliers are the bowls with the lids that are more square in shape, and the lids have that radial ridge pattern on it. The Wonderliers are just round. They're more like a round, high-sided bowl with a top that's flat that goes on it. The Jiffy Sift looks like a big, tall, like a salt shaker, salt mill that you put your stuff in and do it. So when she says, no, not the Jiffy Sift, there ain't no Jiffy Sift on the table. It is not there. And her complaint that the Servalier is incorrectly positioned with the Wonderliers. When she goes and fixes it and moves it back, she's doing it backwards. She's actually taking a Wonderlier away from the Servaliers and returning it to its Wonderlier family. I cannot believe I'm saying this. I'm such a nerd.
Oof.
Yeah. But anyway, just that's the thing that, okay, writers did their fucking homework. The director and the actress did not. So anyway, but you know who this role made me think of? Edie McClurg.
Yeah.
Isn't this a very Edie McClurg role? Like if it was done 20 years later?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So the one thing to kind of button this whole introduction scene and all that before the party gets started is she says, "Mrs. Bunker, there are 3 things a woman remembers: her wedding night, the birth of her first child, and her first Tupperware party." And that is interrupted by Mike and Gloria coming back into the room from the cellar where they have taken the phone and taken it down there to be making some more phone calls to try and see if they can track down Archie. Remember when we couldn't take the phone more than 6 feet away from the plug where it was plugged in?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
my brother used to pull it around the wall. and sit on the floor.
Oh, really?
So he didn't have to sit in the kitchen and have
Wow.
conversations.
I remember because again, as just the slight difference in our age. Do you remember when the plug-in?
Slight difference in our age, David.
I know that I am older than you, Matthew. Do you remember the 4-prong plugs before we went to the modular, plastic wire phone jack?
No.
Okay, there you go. You're not that old. I am that old. And the first time I found at Radio Shack an extension cord for the telephone, the 4-prong thing that plugged into the wall, it wasn't, I could take the phone across the room. It was life-changing because otherwise you literally had to just sit where the phone was. How did we do that? Now it's like, I can't be on the phone and not be doing something else. It's so weird, the shift that's happened technologically speaking. But anyway, still no word about Archie. Mike and Gloria are still really, really worried. Mike still convinces Gloria to go to the film festival. And Charlotte Rae does say, "Oh, this is wonderful. You've hired entertainment. Tupperware won't pay for that." And Edith's like, no, they're not entertainment. They're just leaving. So, and the whole time, this is really unfolding like a play, isn't it? As far as Edith is so fixated on the party and the arrangements, she's in the dark. And she does periodically say, "Oh, I haven't heard from Archie yet. Isn't that strange? Oh, well, I got to go put the coffee on or something." So periodically she's like, "Well, what were you doing down in the cellar talking on the phone?" I don't do a very good Edith Bunker. And, the whole thing of we know what Edith doesn't know. And it's again, the writing is so goddamn good. And in the midst of this crisis, it's funny. The jokes come consistently. And hats off to these writers, man. They are so good. I think there was a blooper in this when they're sitting at the kitchen table and Mike convinces Gloria to go. She's standing behind him when he slides his chair out. I think he accidentally hit her harpo horn, and Rob Reiner just went, "Oh, excuse me," and kept right on going. And they didn't stop tape. They just let it go. And I'm like, "You go, boy, just run with it, man." And yeah. And that scene caps off with, "Come on, Gloria, what's the worst that could happen? He could come home." So then the party's in full swing. I count there are 5 extras who don't have any lines. They're just bodies, neighbors, friends at the party. But we've got the 5 extras plus Irene, Betty Garrett, Louise Jefferson, Isabel Sanford, Lillian, Charlotte Rae, and a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Estrada, whom we are about to meet. So it's Edith and 10 people at the party, including Charlotte Rae. And it would not be All in the Family if we didn't address some sort of culture clash. And oh man, this scene is just delicious, isn't it?
Well, delicious is a word.
What would you call it?
In 2022, I would call it cringy.
Yeah. Oh, totally. The thing I love about what's about to happen is this is kind of including the stuff that would have been happening if Archie had been around. The idea of the clueless white person addressing minorities. The nice thing is that Charlotte Rae is not coming from a place of malice. She's coming from a place of extreme ignorance. And Mr. and Mrs. Estrada come in. And first thing she says is, "What? There's a man here, a man at a Tupperware party. I'm not sure that's thing." And Edith says, "Oh, no. He's here on behalf of his wife." And she says, "Why? Is she deaf?" And he is like, "No, Puerto Rican. He's going to translate for her." At which point she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, if that'll get us a sale, we're good." And then Charlotte Rae says, "I have just the thing for you. Our pie holder doubles as a tortilla holder." And Mr. Estrada says to her, "Puerto Ricans don't eat tortillas. And actually, we don't even eat tortillas." And I was watching this and I thought, okay, what in the actual fuck? Come on, writers. Really? What the fuck?
Puerto Ricans don't eat tortillas?
I Googled it. They don't. I am such an asshole.
If I put a tortilla in front of a Puerto Rican person, they aren't going to eat it.
It's not that they're not going to eat it. It's just that what we think of as Latin food in this country, most of it is based on Mexican cuisine. Mexican food, the tortilla is a staple as far as what you wrap your burritos, your tacos and stuff in that. It's that thing of, again, being a stupid, clueless American white guy. I'm like, what? Don't Puerto Rican and Mexican people eat the same food, right? Of course, it's all the same. No.
Well, no, I didn't think that. I just thought that, it was kind of a broad statement to say Puerto Ricans don't eat tortillas.
Yeah, I think that was just shorthand for that's not really a food that comes from our country. Thank you for thinking so, but no. Yeah, I'm not saying a Puerto Rican has never gone to Taco Bell, but So anyhow, so that was what I learned. All in the Family is out to educate, and that's what I learned in this episode. And as he translates to the wife, she thinks that we would be eating tortillas. They both laugh as they walk away, and Charlotte rages so beautifully, like laughing along, like I don't know what they said, but they're laughing, so I'm laughing. It's really, really quite funny. And just when we think the cringy might be over, oh no, it gets cringier. Lillian goes over to Louise Jefferson. Irene is on hand watching. Betty Garrett is fucking awesome. She is just the perfect level of participating, reacting, but not pulling focus, but not saying, why the fuck is Irene even standing there? Like she makes it all work. God, she is so good. So she says, oh, Mrs. Jefferson, I am so delighted to see you here. And Louise says, oh, do we know each other? And she says, no, but we have overcome, haven't we? And winks at her. And it's like, oh, what is happening? And Louise, beautifully deadpan, we have? And she says, yes, just last week I hosted an all-black Tupperware party. And Louise says, well, it couldn't have been all black. And she says, oh, it was. Didn't you say you were there? Oh! And then she goes on to say, it was a wonderful party. And she says, I took in $300 that night, even though I was the only honky there. Honky. That's black for white. Stop talking. Oh my God. And again, Isabel Sanford just playing it so straight. Is that right? Sometimes I wish I were white so I could get used to all of those black expressions too.
Careful, they're going to take this down off of Apple Podcasts because they're going to think we use the actual audio from the show. It was like if I closed my eyes. It was like having that scene played for me. I'm saying you're nailing your Isabel Sanford.
Yeah, that's a good one. George, I can't get my... By the way, if you watch any of the Carol Burnett, what are called the Lost episodes, the early seasons 1 through 5, that were not available in reruns until only a couple years ago. Anytime they need an African-American actress, it's always Isabel Sanford. And it's like, oh my God, there she is before she was Louise. So that's kind of wonderful.
Pushing 60 in this episode.
Fuck yeah. Oh, yes. So now it's time for Edith's welcome speech, and she fucks it up royally and comedically and hilariously. Mike and Gloria burst in the middle of it fighting, and then finally the phone rings, and Edith gets to it before Mike and Gloria can get to it, and Edith hears the news from Butch, Archie's friend, that he's not there, and he still isn't there. Now Edith understands what's going on. And so Edith dramatically hangs up the phone and walks over to the chair on the other side of the room from where the rest of the party is going on. And
Gloria tells everybody to quiet down.
Yeah, thank you. And then she says, Ma, are you okay? And she can't speak. She's still in shock. And then Charlotte Rae chimes in, the final words of the episode. Oh, certainly she's all right. She's just a little overwhelmed by it all. Like I said, we never forget our first Tupperware party. And
very long
yeah,
edit.
very long
And
call cut.
Throw all the Emmys at Jean Stapleton. She had me like tearing up a little bit. Like I could see the pain in her face.
Yeah. And the fact that she can play this seemingly one-dimensional, dim-witted character, her nickname was Dingbat, just because she was usually just playing clueless or stupid through most of the series. And yet when she was called upon to play this type of stuff, it's like, oh, no. This is an actress with a capital A.
Yeah.
Damn. So that's Charlotte Ray's part in the show, and I think it's one of her finest performances. Honestly, I think it's such a perfect tailor-made character. And this, I assume, was towards the beginning of her friendship and affiliation with Norman Lear that would lead to Mrs. Garrett, that would lead to Facts of Life. So bravo to her. Really, really great. So to kind of quickly go through what the other two parts have. We have part 2 called Archie is Missing. We have a scene with Louise calling Gloria, and this is where George Jefferson comes in. We're kind of calling out the forces here with the supporting cast. So we have Louise and George, and they get into one hell of a fight over how George is being so unsympathetic, whereas Louise is genuinely concerned because Gloria and Edith are so worried. And it's like they're threatening to fucking beat on each other. It's bad. What did you think of that?
I literally have 2 lines of notes for the second and third episode. My next note is about Boom Boom.
Oh, we'll get there. It made me think of how there were times that Walter and Maude would go into the kitchen and you just hear shit being thrown and stuff. Like, it's apparently domestic violence was much more popular back then, much more acceptable and clearly hilariously funny. But Edith and Mike go to the police station to file a missing persons report, but Archie's not been gone for 24 hours. Then back at the house, Stretch Cunningham shows up. Stretch Cunningham is a character that Archie has talked about in the past that also works at the cab company where Archie has been working. And Stretch Cunningham, this is the first time we're meeting him. He's introducing himself to them. It's James Cromwell. Did you recognize him?
He's basically playing Ed Norton, for God's sake.
I know.
I mean,
yes, he really is. He's doing.
Jesus, I half expected him to walk in and ask where Ralphie Boy was.
Yeah, it's true. James Cromwell, who, by the way, is 6'7". So when they call him Stretch Cunningham as the character, when they were like, let's actually cast an actor and bring Stretch Cunningham into the show. It's like, okay, we need a super tall Irish guy. Oh, done. Look no further. But Stretch was always the funny man, the jokester, and he really lives up to it here as far as he comes in and he's got a one-liner and a zinger for every single thing that he says, and they're never quite that funny and never quite as funny as he thinks they are as he laughs at them. But you get why down at the cab company, he is the fucking rock star as far as him making the other guys laugh. Like, I thought they wrote it just right. And yeah, he's just going to talk and play like this, going, hey, yeah. So Mike and Gloria have found a picture of Archie with some woman at the company picnic in 1973. And Stretch verifies that this woman is a woman named Mildred, but everyone at the place calls her Boom Boom. And it's because she's got big boobs. So
Mike is looking at the picture saying that he thinks she's 35.
No, I didn't catch that. Mike said 30.
35. This woman is a solid 50 when she walks in that door.
Oh, I was going to say 60 easily.
I looked it up. She's 50.
No.
The year they filmed this.
Woo!
Yeah.
It's a rough 50, guys. Different time when women didn't have work done. Women aged gracefully.
You'll recognize her. Did you recognize her, David?
I recognized her from this. I knew her. I had seen her on the show because they've used her a couple of times.
You've seen Peggy. You've seen Sordid Lives, haven't you? The movie.
Yeah.
She was Peggy.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
The old woman that dies having an affair with that man.
Wow. God, I haven't seen that in so long. But now that you say that, I do remember. Yeah. But it comes into question that maybe
playing the sex pot until the end.
Yep, you go, girl. But what the episode writing wise does beautifully, and again, it is really playing like a play. It sets up at the police station that if it's just a middle-aged white guy who's just skipped town, we get a lot of calls about that. Usually it's guys running off with their mistress or something. And they're like, oh, well, don't be ridiculous. Then they find this photograph. And then Stretch comes in and they ask him to identify her. And he says, well, I'll go down to work and I'll ask her if she knows anything about where Archie might be. Stretch comes back later and says, she's not at work. She called in sick. But when I called her house, she didn't answer the phone. So now I'm trying to call her mother and she's not answering. And then even Gloria takes out the phone book and tries to call her herself. So then Boom Boom finally comes to the house, but she verifies that no, she and Archie are not having an affair. In fact, she kind of hates Archie and he's the one that dubbed her Boom Boom. And so the very last word I think she says to Edith, you're married to Archie, you have my sympathy, or something like that. So with Boom Boom's departure, that leaves Edith and Gloria and Mike once again with, so he's not with Boom Boom then. Where is he? Long, pensive clap and fade. Another dramatical ending because Carol O'Connor still ain't anywhere to be found.
Yeah.
But this time, as I said earlier, the episode ends with a little preview of next week and an announcer saying, next week, when Archie comes home, everyone is getting ready to celebrate. And then part 3, called The Longest Kiss. Like I said, not called Archie's Back. Edith is running around singing to herself, setting the table at the top of the show. Mike and Gloria come in. Oh, just got back from the police station, still no word, and we're still sorry, there's no thing. And Edith is like, no, it's okay. I heard from Archie. He's back. He's going to be home tonight. And then we hear the whole saga of how he got on the bus. They offered them drinks. He sat next to a Mormon who doesn't drink. So we had the Mormon's drinks. And then he got diverted to a podiatrist convention. And then they were driving drunk and they got arrested. We hear the whole saga of what happened to Archie through Edith, repeating it to us. And he's going to be back soon, within an hour or so. And the entire rest of the episode is just them spinning their wheels.
I want to know what it was like for that poor studio audience that got tickets to the #1 show on television for 2 weeks and Archie wasn't in the episode. Fuck off.
Not even there at the beginning to sing the theme song, which we know they would wheel out a piano and sing it live for every audience at the top of the taping. So not even that. It's like, yeah.
Mm. And I did read that they did have a script to kill off Archie, if it got to that, but it was later rewritten for the episode of Good Times when
they killed off James.
Yeah, when they killed off James.
John Amos, yeah. So So the wheel spinning consists of Mike and Gloria fighting and disagreeing and calling each other a liar, and they do a great job with it. They do what they can. You still believe they love each other. At least the actors are good enough to play that. To try and distract themselves, Edith gets a hula hoop out of the cellar and they're using the hula hoop. And then Louise comes over for some bread to make George a sandwich because he's been drinking and needs to get something in his stomach. And then Irene shows up and then George shows up a little drunk, but Irene has brought wine because she had already spoken to Edith and knew that Archie was coming home. So they drink the wine, they're getting tipsy. George turns on music. Edith is getting drunk and hula hooping. Mike and Gloria are in this lengthy, long, continuous kiss for reasons I can't even begin to describe how we get to that point. And George and Louise are jitterbugging. And finally, Irene grabs a pillow cushion and does a headstand.
This is a wacky party.
All of this is just leading up to the point when Archie walks in the door and all of this craziness is going on. The kissing, the dancing, the hula hooping, the headstanding, the music. And he has one line. I knew you didn't know what to do without me, but I didn't know you all would go nuts. At which point they all stop. Archie's back. And they all clump around him and hug him. End of episode.
Mm.
And it's like, oh my God, this episode, they literally said, okay, how do we make a visual, wacky, crazy something happen for Archie to walk in on? And then how do we reverse engineer that through the rest of the episode? And that's it. That's all. And it's unfortunately a bit of a letdown. And yeah, mostly because like you had said, the telling of the whole story of what happened to Archie, you couldn't have saved it for another week where we had Carol O'Connor the whole time and he could have told us what happened?
Or what did happen, Archie? Like when he finally walks into the room.
Yeah.
Archie's fine. He said he'll tell me the whole thing when he gets here. Or something at the beginning of the episode, but no, she has to tell the whole story.
Yeah. I mean, it would have had to been put off to the next week. They didn't have him again this week, other than to have him show up on taping day. But maybe we didn't need to drag this out any longer than it was, but very weird. So strange what writers have to do to write around the circumstances behind the camera.
Yeah.
And figure out what's going on. When you fire Valerie Harper from the show called Valerie.
And she'll be okay with us using her name on the show she's not in. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Valerie's family. It's like, what? And the other thing I'm trying to think of is it Miss O'Brien? Who was the really, really bitchy servant in the first season of Downton Abbey? Might have been the first two.
I've never watched an episode of Downton Abbey.
Well, anyhow, there was one main antagonist who was always stirring shit up and being a total see you next cunt. And it was Miss O'Brien, I believe was the character's name. And the actress left the show in between seasons on the hiatus. So literally the season that followed started with a suitcase being packed, a coat being grabbed, and the silhouette of a woman with a similar hairdo walking down the stairs, out the door, and off the property. And then the next morning is, what? Miss O'Brien just quit and left and didn't leave any word? Well, she did leave this note. And now let's read what the note says. And yeah. And of course, Laverne and Shirley, how they royally fucked up the departure of Shirley. How awful it was the way they handled that, having Shirley leave a show called Laverne and Shirley. So Matthew, we're kind of at the end of this little saga here. We do need to give it our Talkaholic Chips rating system. And I'm gonna let you go first this time. How many Talkaholic Chips out of 5?
Well, All in the Family is always going to get 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who am I to sit here and say that the show is anything less than perfection?
Yeah, no, it is really, really always good. Nowadays, you watch it, it is certainly a bit dated of its time, but what it did, and if you can watch it in that context and appreciate what the fuck it was doing and how revolutionary it was. Yeah, I give All in the Family overall 5 out of 5. I give episodes 1 and 2 of this 3-parter also 5 out of 5. I'm sorry, though. I think The Longest Kiss, I'm going to have to go with 4. There, okay. I did it. I said it.
All right.
Yep, fight me on it.
This was fun.
Yes.
We have different ideas of fun.
and of course, what it all does come back to is Charlotte Rae. Charlotte Rae is magnificent on it. And I'm really, really happy we got to see another performance of hers, because we're definitely missing her from the Facts of Life now that we're heavily, deeply into the Beverly Ann years. And no diss to Cloris, of course. And maybe next month we should try to look for something Cloris to analyze.
All right. I mean, we did Phyllis. We did that awful Marlo Thomas movie, for God's sake. I mean,
That's true. Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. All right. Well, Tutti Fruities, thank you again so much for supporting the show. We so greatly appreciate it. And we will talk at you next month. Thanks and goodbye. Mwah.
David, I was thinking we should call the show Aunt Flo, because it's like a bad period. It shows up once a month, whether you want it to or not.
And Flo.
Bye, everybody.
We're done. I'm clicking. I'm done.
And everything is the same as it used to be. I see it's all over now. All over now, we're through. And tomorrow I can start in remembering, sad because we're parting. Remembering, consolate my heart in remembering you.
Also, knowing more about gel coat.
When the fourth
Don't you call in the... More importantly,